What up? We back. Welcome to the channel. It's inevitable. At some point in your relationship, you and your partner will face conflict. Now, there are ways to handle this. Good ways that will keep you together. I know it is never fun. It's never really going to be fun when you're in opposition with the person you love the most, you care about the most. It's not fun. And it could be about many different things. It could range from something as complex as your opinions on politics to something as simple as why you don't want to eat the same thing that they want to eat. Arguments are arguments. Conversations are conversations. Conflict is conflict. It can all get you out of sync, and it can be very difficult to get back to where you guys should be at. But like I said, there are solutions. And I like to represent conflict as a storm. Solutions from within the storm and solutions outside the storm. Both are useful, both are very important to help make sure conflict gets managed properly. Inside the storm, as people, our emotions are very strong. Logically, we may have the correct point. We may actually have the piece of the argument that makes the most sense. But oftentimes we don't communicate that properly. In my experience, it was put to me as I'm asking a logical question and expecting a logical answer, but I'm getting an emotional answer because my partner is answering from their own emotions, if that makes sense. I wouldn't say this is solely a men are logical, women are emotional thing, but most often that's usually what it is. I'm asking a logical question, trying to get to a logical conclusion, but conflict is inherently emotional. So my fiance is asking emotional questions and trying to get emotional conclusions because that'll make her emotions better. Whereas the logic is all about making the situation better, if that makes sense. I don't think those two have to be so diametrically opposed. Unfortunately, they often are because of how different we are. Because of that, it's often very difficult to see past what I believe to be right because logically, I think that this makes sense. And she might have the same opinion, but she's expressing it emotionally. So I'm unable to understand it at certain points. Now, when I come off that, it's a lot easier for me to understand her. And when she comes off that, it's a lot easier for her to understand me. So there are certain techniques that I've used and she's used to help us better understand each other. And I believe that utilizing these techniques not only will help you better understand yourself, but will help you better understand your partner and will help you better understand your relationship and move forward from there. First, me and her established no yelling. Now, we're human. We're going to make some mistakes. Yelling, unfortunately, is the environment that I grew up in when I was little. So for me, that is very natural. When I get very animated or passionate about a certain topic, my voice tends to rise. If I'm angry about that topic, I'm now yelling. If I'm joking, it's not really yelling, but it can still come off offensive. And if I am just being very serious, but I'm very passionate about a topic, people often perceive that as yelling as well. And that's something I have to improve upon, regardless of whether or not people know me. But establishing that rule gives you a lot more room to understand the person. If you can avoid a shouting match, you're able to focus more on what is actually being said. Your nervous system is not reacting to the loud noise, is not reacting to the angry visuals. You're able to regulate your emotions a lot easier and focus on the words being said, as opposed to the tone they're coming in or how it's being demonstrated to you. What can help avoid a shouting match as well is clarifying what was actually said before you respond. This is similar to just taking a beat before a response, okay? But you're being an active listener. The easiest way to go about clarifying before you respond is to produce, it sounds like you're saying blank, or it seems like this is what you mean. You can present that as a question, which gives your partner time to respond and clarify and correct what you may or may not have just said. If you get the confirmation, then you can move on with what you need to say to that. Because your partner now has recognized what you said and you recognize what they said, it gives you that pause that helps regulate your emotions, keeps you guys down, and you're good from there. If they reject whatever your clarifying point is, it seems like you're upset about blank, and they say, no, I'm not upset about blank. Allow them the space to repeat or reinform you what they're actually upset about. Then you go back into your clarification. It seems like you're upset about me going to this place. No, I'm not upset about you going to this place. I'm upset about the fact that you didn't tell me. Okay, so you're upset about the fact that I didn't tell you I was going to that place. Yes. Boom. Remember, our goal is to help regulate the emotions within the storm. You want to avoid the conflict being as bad as it is. You're taking the time to relax, make sure you understand what they're saying, so your breath is relaxed, your body is relaxing. So not only have you regulated your emotions now due to your response, but you're also regulating your partner's emotions because now they feel like they've been truly listened to because you went and clarified what they had to say. But they also feel a lot more relaxed because you took the time to pause, breathe, clarify what you had to say, and now you're not yelling. I'd say a bigger piece of this as well is think before you speak. That second point about clarifying what you heard before you respond will give you plenty of time to do this, okay? But this is pretty self-explanatory. Think before you speak. And there's levels to this. You need to choose the right words. This takes a lot of practice, but I believe inherently we know what the right words are. It's kind of like the last video. When there's a correct answer to the stupid questions, there's a correct way to say something. If you're upset with something that somebody did to you and you feel like it was annoying, don't say, that was just so annoying. Like, that was so annoying of you to do. Don't say that. That's the wrong way to say it. The right way to say it is, I felt a bit annoyed when you chose to do that thing. And this is why. That I felt you put in there labels your feelings. It doesn't say that person did something annoying. It doesn't say that person is annoying. You're labeling you. I felt annoyed when you did this thing. Same way you would address a problem. Up front, don't say, here's this problem I have with you. Okay, that's just going to put you on opposite sides. At the end of the day, you're on the same team against the problem. So what you do say is, here's the problem we're having that your action did. How do we fix it? Put as much we in there as you can when it comes to the collective issue, and put as much I in there as you can when it comes to labeling the feelings of the situation. General rule of thumb. You cannot go wrong whatsoever with understanding if something sounds bad in your head, it definitely sounds bad when you say it. If you allow that barrier of being able to say, this sounds bad in my head, not going to say that, 90% of the time you'll be fine. If you choose the right words, it gives your partner room to see that you're trying to do that. Because choosing the right words is not something that you're going to immediately say. Like if you saw me just a minute ago, I had to pause and make sure I said the right thing. Your partner will pick up on that, especially if you're somebody who speaks very quickly. All these will help mitigate the actual argument you're dealing with. But your partner being able to see that you're truly trying to choose the right words will lead into outside of the argument where they can see that you're taking the time to make sure that what they're hearing is love and not anger, sadness, fear, upsetness. Outside the storm is what I like to call preparing for the storm. Let's say, perchance, the storm isn't here yet. Okay, you guys are on a good run. Last 2 weeks, haven't had an argument, haven't disagreed about nothing. Y'all kicking it, happy, haha, kiki, whatever it is. It's the same way you'd prepare for a vacation. You'd make sure everything you need for that vacation, you got. And you be diligent about it. You might go through it once, twice, 3 times. However your operation is, you're going to go through it. It's the same way you prepare for anything else in life. You got to get ahead of it. You have to put yourself in the shoes of being there as many times as you can so when the times come, you're comfy. It's like in sports. You don't show up on game day after not practicing all week and think you're just going to be Brady on Sunday. It just doesn't work that way. Everything successful requires some type of unseen preparation, okay? Everything successful requires some type of diligent work after work after work after work. And there is nothing wrong with that. If things are hard, if things are a little difficult, there's nothing wrong with that. That is normal. Nothing in life comes easy. John Hope Bryant says, the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary, and that's because it's alphabetical. And I love that statement so much because it really makes you think, because nothing in life is success before work. Think about this social media thing. Somebody that blows up overnight. At the end of the day, they had to work for that though. Even if it was one video you put out and then you blow up, you still worked to put that one video out. You get my point? As such, prepare for arguments. Not literally put yourself in positions to be arguing, but prepare for when they come. The best way to do this, talk with your partner about previous arguments. If possible, ones that have already been solved. It gives you guys the ability to discuss where things went wrong, not just on the topic matter, but also within the argument. Let's say you had a past argument and you didn't do any of the stuff that we just talked about when you're in the storm. When you guys are good, go back to those conversations. Go deeper. Figure out where you guys started yelling. Figure out where you didn't clarify any responses. Figure out where you didn't think before you spoke and where that person might not have done that, and see if you can figure out how to solve it for the next time it comes around. Set ground rules for yourself so you know how to approach the conversation. And it's not as a gotcha moment, but if you set those ground rules and somebody steps over them, it's a lot easier for the partners to point you out. Or it's a lot easier for you to point out your partner and say, hey, forget this argument we're having right now. We established these rules. Let's do them. Okay? Just because we're upset, just because you're emotional, just because I'm being logical, it doesn't matter what's going on. We set these rules. Let's keep them. And it's a lot easier to identify whether or not you should be in your relationship. Because if you set ground rules and the person decides to keep breaking those ground rules, you know that you don't have to be there anymore because you together set these rules. It's not just something you're arbitrarily forcing on somebody else or them doing it to you. It was a collective idea you guys came up with that you're now breaking, or vice versa. As it relates to talking about an argument you've solved already, break it down as much as possible, from what was good about it to what was bad about it, to what somebody felt was an attack, to what somebody felt was a really nice thing you did, to what something you want to happen in the next argument or something that you don't want to happen in the next argument. Break it down as much as possible, because the more you prepare yourself, the easier it is on game day to do what you say you're going to do. Now, that doesn't mean every day talk about a previous argument. That's stupid. But at the same time, if you know y'all have been good, talk about what's keeping y'all good. Something me and my fiance did for an extended period of time, which we don't have to do too much anymore because now we kind of understand each other better. But at the end of each week, we'd rate our week 1 out of 10. How was this week? It was a 4. Dang, really? What can we do to get it to a 10? Well, I need these things, and these things. Got it. Okay, I'll do better about that next week. And you say that to get us to a 10. Yes. Bet. Next week comes around. How would you rate our week? It was a 10. You upgraded, you did everything, blah, blah, blah. Cool. How can we keep that at a 10? And it might be different week to week because people are experiencing different things week to week or even day to day. She might be like, yeah, that was really good, but I didn't think that I didn't need that as much as I thought I did. So we can dial that back. But if you did this, come next week, 10 out of 10. Then we get to the next week. How would you rate our week? 8 out of 10. Dang, we was at 10 out of 10. What happened? I thought I wouldn't need that thing, but I actually do. That's it. I did need it. That'll make it 10 out of 10. You see what I'm saying? But that's communication. And you can make your jokes, you know what I mean? Like, what? You say you ain't need it, blah, blah, blah. What you mean? You can make your jokes. But that's a great way to start. It gets you talking about what made your week good, what made it bad, what made arguments good, what made arguments bad, so that you guys can be prepared for when the next time comes. So you don't deal with it the way that you dealt with it before that causes you problems. And if you do it right, you grow closer to your partner heart to heart through deep conversation. Okay, and that's the ultimate goal anyway. You want to be so open with each other, you know exactly what that person's thinking without them even realizing it. You want to know them better than they know themselves. Another piece, which is a little bit smaller, but do some inner reflection. More often than not, the focus should be on your partner, right? And theirs should be on you. Because if you both are working in opposite ways, you're going to be more than fine. But making you better is always helpful. My motto is 1% better every day in anything. And it's hard to do because at a certain point you think you've reached everything you can do. It's not true. You just can't see it yet. But chasing that mindset allows you to keep figuring out what that may be. As it relates to relationships, find out where your triggers are. Find out what gets you really upset. For us, it was no yelling. I think universally that'll be fine for everybody, but maybe yours is like, I don't like it when you talk so low. Or for my fiance, at the beginning of our relationship, she hated that I joked a lot. You knew what you signed up for. I could double down on that, or I can say, you know what? I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. I'm gonna dial the jokes back a little bit. I'm gonna chill. Okay, I will. You're right. But she knew her triggers. And I knew mine. And that's what kept us together for so long. We find our triggers. We point them out to our partner and say, hey, this bothered me a little bit. When we're good or when we're bad. This will directly help you see where the situation got much bigger than what it was for you. And why, and how to avoid it in the future when you're with your partner. You can never go wrong with thinking that you just are not the best version of yourself yet. Never. And I know that sounds kind of doomsday-ish, but if we're not getting better, we're getting worse, in my opinion. Okay, you should not be the same as you were yesterday. Because if you were the same as you were yesterday, 20 years from now, you'd be the same as you were 20 years ago. We can always get better. Finally, extreme ownership. This is not something that I think everybody has to do, but I think coming into relationships, I did not understand what it meant to fully give up what I wanted for somebody else. to fully put somebody and the love for that person above what I felt like was right. So I read a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And that changed my entire mindset on why I have so many problems. Quality is a little worse here because my freaking light died. At a certain point, it can no longer be somebody else's fault when something goes wrong. Okay, it can't be. Some point you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, where is all this coming from? And the idea behind the book was, whenever something happens, frame it in your mind as, what did I do wrong here? So if you're working a job and somebody's not following your directions, don't blame that person and be like, they didn't follow directions. Don't say, well, I gave clear answers, all that. Your first thought should be, what can I do to give them better directions so they listen, right? You're a basketball coach. You want the guys to run your plays. Your guy ran free, did his own thing. Your first thought shouldn't be, I got to take him out. He's not listening. What can I do better as a coach to make sure he knows next time I need him to pass the ball there instead of shooting it? And when it comes to relationships and something that I had to really do, when we got in arguments, what did she do wrong that pissed me off? I can't say that. What I can say is, what did I do that caused her to yell right there? What did I do that caused her to cut me off? What did I do that caused her to feel like calling me that name right there was something that she should have done? Now, it's not on her to keep doing those things. But if I operate from that mindset, I know where I can get better. And they say in the book, at a certain point, you can do that so many times. But if somebody's just not getting it, there is a point where they need to be fired, or in a relationship broken up with, or in a basketball court pulled and told to sit on the bench. But if you start there, there's a lot more things that you can do that can help that person get to a better place for you and for themselves and for your relationship than you think. Like I said, not everybody needs to do this because this is a little bit of a big step. And it's one I know that I had to take for our relationship to get where it's at. Not everybody's relationship needs that. But I would say, give this a shot. Try it. It may do better for you than you think. Matter of fact, for all these, test them, see how you do. I'm so confident that every last one of these will work. If you DM me or comment or whatever it is and say that one of these didn't work, even one didn't help you change the way you argue with your partner or change the next argument you have with your partner, I'll give you $1,000. You know what I'm saying? Whether I got it or not at the time, I'll give you $1,000. That's how confident I am. This stuff works, man. But you have to actually use it and be intentional with it. Don't try to think around the right words and then struggle and be like, that was hard. I'm going to just say what I want. Don't do that because that's not trying. That don't count. Be honest with yourself. And I say that because it is easier said than done. I know it is. Trust me, I know this. But I guarantee it'll work. And remember, be happy.